Good day everyone. Our report is about Patintero. Patintero is a traditional Filipino children's game in the Philippines. It is one of the most popular outdoor games played by children along with tumbang preso. The term roughly means block the enemy. Actually, it's not an exclusive children's game at all. Adults play Patintero too as a recreational activity during family and friends gatherings. Patintero is derived from Spanish word tinte, tint or ink in English, in reference to the drawn lines. Another name for it is tubigan, tubiganay, or tubig-tubig, which is water game in English, due to the fact that the grid lines are also commonly drawn by wetting the ground with water. These are the regional names for Patintero. Patintero is the Tagalog term for this outdoor game. Although some kids call it harangang taga or harang taga, which literally mean block and catch in English. Meanwhile, in other parts of the Philippines, Patintero is called by regional names such as tubigan, tubiganay, or tubig-tubig in the Visayas and other Bisaya-speaking regions. Lumplumpas in northern Luzon, Sinibon or Serbab in Ilocos region, Sabatan in Central Luzon. Moreover, in Eastern Visayas, when Patintero is played by 4 players, it's called tadlas, and when it involves 6 players, they call it birus-birus.
Patintero is really famous here in the Philippines, and I bet everyone is here experienced playing Patintero with our childhood friends and cousins. Playing Patintero isn't just playing a normal game. There is an objective to play this specific game. Don't worry, the objective is just briefly stated, so let's talk about it. The goal of the game is for the offensive players to get as many players through the court without being tagged by the defensive players. If an offensive player is tagged by a defensive player, he or she goes to the end of the recycle line to wait for his or her next turn. That's it. That is the objective of this game. So now let us jump into the question, how many players the game Patintero must comprise? So to answer that question, there are 2 teams needed in order for us to play Patintero, each with around 2 to 6 players. One team acts as the taggers and the other one acts as the runners. This is usually decided by a game of rock, paper, scissors, or locally known as the jack and poi, or a coin toss or toss coin. The objective of the game is to cross the rectangle back and forth without getting tagged. To recap, 2 teams are needed in order to play Patintero. Each team must comprise with around 2 to 6 players. One team acts as the taggers and the other one acts as the runners. So, the way in which the team can choose whether they are the runners or they are the taggers is by a game called rock, paper, scissors, or locally known as the jack and poi, and pwede na rin via coin toss or toss coin. So, the objective of the game is to cross the rectangle back and forth without getting tagged. Again, the objective of the game is to cross the rectangle back and forth without getting tagged. So I hope it's clear, and yeah, that's it.
For the court layout of Patintero, Patintero is played on rectangular grid drawn to the ground. The grid is usually 5 to 6 meters in length and 4 meters wide. It is then further subdivided into 4 or 8 parts by drawing a central lengthwise line and 1 to 3 crosswise line. However, the size of the grid as well as the numbers of subdivisions can be adjusted according to the number of players. The only prerequisite is that each individual square or box will be large enough that the player standing in the middle of the box cannot be touched or tagged with someone standing on the line. Next, for the materials needed to play Patintero. The materials needed to play Patintero are actually very few. A watering can, stick, chalk, or paint is a material we need to draw the rectangular playground on the ground. We also need a score sheet to keep track of each team's scores, a whistle to indicate the start and end of the round, and finally a stopwatch to keep track of the round's length.
Patintero rules apply no matter how you look at it to all players. The gear needed for the game incorporates chalk or paint, a score sheet, a whistle, and a stopwatch. The playing court ought to be a square shape of about 7.5 meters long and 5 meters wide, partitioned into 6 equivalent square shapes. The principles of Patintero Philippines are as per the following. The game begins with a flip of coin to choose the group that turns into the passer or sprinter. There is a period cutoff of 2 minutes for each group to score. When the 2 minutes pass, the two groups change sides, and the watchmen become the passers and the other way around. The passers or sprinters should cross the line from the beginning stage and back to procure a point. The line monitors are situated on the vertical lines with one of the flat line of the matrix, ensuring that their feet are consistently on the line. The Patintero targets of the line monitors incorporate labeling the passers or sprinters with their controlled or butterfly hands and hindering them from passing the lines. When a gatekeeper labels any of the passers, the line watches take on the situation of the passers. The length of the game is 3 innings, and every inning is isolated into equal parts. The above Patintero mechanics may somewhat contrast starting with one local area, then onto the next, yet the nature and style of the game are normally standard.
As content of our report in Patintero is the values of the game. This game will measure the speed, agility, and sharpness of the players' attention and their ability to play not as separate individuals but as a united team. So to measure how good is the player in playing Patintero, they must have speed, agility, and fast thinking on how to oppose the opponent. And second, it will measure the ability of every team to create a successful strategy. This means that this game will also measure the ability to think of every team. So even though the individual is good at playing and has the quality in playing Patintero, but if they don't work as a team, they will likely to lose. So they must come up a successful strategy so that they can oppose the opponent. So that is all for our report in Patintero. Thank you for listening.